Possessed definitely has a unique sound. Like when you hear Possessed, you know it's Possessed. When you hear Motorhead, you know it's Motorhead. When you hear Kiss, you know it's Kiss. When you hear Merciful Fate, you know it's Merciful Fate. And so on down the line. And so I think it wouldn't have made sense not to have that discussion.
Yeah, for sure. We had conversations for years, about, writing new music, and, I even started writing like music since the beginning, but obviously it wasn't a good fit because, my type of death metal is obviously different than what Possessed death metal is, like mine will be more modern, in the terms of like blast beats and technicality, and cleanliness and stuff like that, being tightness. So, I kind of was a little out of what you call like the sound. So, it took me about a few years to like actually figure it out. But yeah, we've been talking about making new songs, but it's, it was a difficult topic because, with such a huge legacy, it's to come back from that and pay respects to it at the same time. It's a challenge.
Well, I always thought of don't really bring in too much of your own. Has to be OG for the fans. And I've been jamming with Jet since like late '06. And then when we started doing these gigs back with a different lineup, a lot of fans are saying, if you do a new album, keep it the same. Don't blast beats and stuff like that. No blast beats. Which truth is, I wanted to keep it the same. Slayer does it. They ripped off themselves all the time. So Possessed, if we just kind of like grab what was and do it in that realm with our, input, I'm sure it's going to come out great. And actually, I'm very proud of this album, man. Worked very hard for this album.
No, I think everybody just wanted to play the best they could. I don't really think that was, obviously, we listen to a riff and we think, oh, that'll work or not. But I don't think it really was like, oh, it has to sound a certain way.
For me, I didn't get to contribute a whole lot to this record, but my mental state, going into the writing process was we were carrying the torch.
Analyzing those albums for so long and, listening and playing them live and, sometimes fucking them up live, just being involved in those two albums of the one EP, kind of helped me to get in the right mindset of like, okay, like let's say the new album, what elements should have.
We're doing this the way we want to do it. We're not trying to copy anybody or anything. We're, hard-working musicians where we want to make sure it's going to sound, as best as possible and try to keep it real.
It has to stay true.
Because we couldn't do like a new Seven Churches, for example. That wouldn't fly. I'm thinking, even if we tried, like it's already been done. Why go back there? So what I tried to do when I was writing for the album was basically that, just thinking, putting myself in the mindset of like, okay, between all the two albums and the EP, the style, the song structures they used and everything,
I think Daniel and Jeff did a great job with the writing because it really sounds like Possessed.
I went to audio engineering school, so it's very easy for me to do the stuff very fast. I will send demos to the guys all the time, and the screening process was pretty tough. I would send stuff to Jeff, and he was like, no, I don't like it, whatever. So it's like, okay, whatever. Go back to the drawing board. So, it took a while, but we made it. I think we did a good job.
In the old days, we were essentially recording a live album. Like I would play bass on the songs, start to finish. If I fucked up, I'd have to go back and start the song again. We didn't punch in. Now you can punch in, and I know that sounds bizarre, but back then, it was, if we did something backwards, you'd have to hand reel the tape backwards, and it was just a lot more time consuming.
Back in those days, it was impossible for us to find anywhere to record because there was so much money. We knew one guy in the valley, he would record us, and it sounded like shit, but we were like, fuck it, we'll pay you because he was recording us, That's just the way it was growing up in the 90s. You know, late 80s, I know it was just as hard trying to find somebody to record you.
Like the old Possessed people would say, like, oh, you had that old school sound. It's not because we didn't want to sound, you know, better. It's because that was what the technology offered at that day. So of course, if something's going to make the band sound better and more structured and make the drums sound better, the guitar sound better, we're going to use that. Any technology that will help us have our true sound, I'm going to use.
Well, we did a lot of pre-production. It was awesome. You know, I came in literally pretty much prepared and took a lot of hours and days off of working just to do the click and come in. So when Peter came in, as far as we already kind of knew what to do.
Me personally, like Hypocrisy is one of my favorite bands, you know, so first time I met Peter, I had to be like, dude, you just gotta get this out of the way and just be a fanboy for like 5 minutes, and then we'll just get to work, you know.
He had this style of being a musician as well. Like, it's just not like some guy doing he would relate. Like on vocal wise, if he had an idea and Jeff would play with them, their opinion, they were just gelling. He plays drums, so he told me on a little part, hey, can you try it like this? And he actually tried it. And I said, oh, you mean like that? So it's the communication. It's great. It's like dealing with the guy that at your level or more, you know, because he's pro.
He plays drums, he plays guitar, you know. He's produced some of the best albums, you know, of European metal ever, you know. So he definitely, you know, he has all the qualifications for the job, and he definitely helped us a lot. I recall I was talking to him when we first started, you know, getting set up or whatever, or through emails, and he wouldn't want to listen to the demos I had because he didn't want to be influenced by any kind of sound or whatever I had captured. And I found that interesting because then, you know, that meant that he wanted to come, you know, completely fresh and start something totally new, you know, with his own ideas of how it was supposed to sound, you know.
I always feel like I lost a lot of my future in the 17 and a half years it took me to, you know, get my shit together after I got shot. So I'm always trying to catch up. I feel like I need to release as much material as possible, you know, before I die. Not that I'm going to die soon, but I feel like I have a lot of time to make up for. And I feel like Possessed, even though we've been around 37 years, is just now starting out. And there's so much more I want to say, and I'm sure there's so much more the guys want to say and put into the music. And I just want to create a legacy that's larger than 2 albums, you know. So Possessed, when we started out, like I say, it was all about uniqueness and individuality and, you know, breaking the rules while following the rules. I just want to create a sound, albums that are all unique, individual, and tell their own story without just, you know, punting on the first down and doing the same thing over and over and over. I just want to express as much as I can within reason.
With the words of turn to rust, they no longer did